Today we're going to be talking about crafting in Path of Exile 2's Early Access. Now that Grinding Gear Games has released a ton of new information in their Early Access showcase, we can start putting together some details on what crafting is going to look like in Path of Exile 2. To start off, there are 4 types of items in the game: normal, magic, rare, and unique. Throughout the game, you'll find a variety of different currencies that can help you improve your gear and help you progress. I'll let Jonathan explain the interactions with some of these.
One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items. An Orb of Transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with 1 mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a second mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a third mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods.
Besides dropping out in the world, you can also sell magic items to a vendor in town for transmutation shards. If you sell 20 of these and get 20 shards, they will automatically turn into an Orb of Transmutation in your inventory. You can also do this with rares, so you can sell 20 rare items to create a Regal Orb as well. Here you'll find some additional items that you can use to improve or modify items. The Orb of Annulment will remove a random modifier from an item. The Val Orb will corrupt an item unpredictably, more on that later. Divine Orb will randomize the numerical values of an item, allowing for higher or lower rolls depending on your luck. And the Armor, Scraps, and Blacksmith Whetstones will increase the quality of armor and weapons, respectively, up to 20%. This will typically cause them to provide higher base defenses or damage depending on the item. There are Scrolls of Wisdom to identify magic, rare, or unique items you find, as well as Artificer's Orbs that will add a socket to a weapon or armor. Let's talk about sockets for a minute. Gloves, helms, boots, and one-handed weapons can all have up to 1 socket. Body armor and two-handed weapons can have up to 2 sockets. You'll see here there are a number of runes in the game that will help you improve your character in a variety of different ways. This can be anything from doing more damage to increasing your resistances or life. Path of Exile 1 players will tell you it's very important to try to cap your resistances as soon as possible to provide maximum survivability. Socketing your items will help you fill these gaps. You can also salvage items in town, which will break down and provide socketed items into Artificer Shards. These you can save up and they'll become Artificer Orbs. These allow you to socket some of your existing items that might not have a socket. You'll also be able to salvage for armor scraps and blacksmith whetstones by selling weapons and armor that already have quality on them. Once you reach endgame, there are a number of PoE 1 League mechanics that have been reimagined and brought over to PoE 2. The first I'm going to mention today is Breach. You can find a Breach in an Atlas Waystone if it has this icon over it. Breaches will contain a number of things, including Breach Rings, which look like they're going to be some of the best rings available in the game right now. These will not be corrupted, so they can be improved and changed once you've looted them. You also find Catalysts, which can enhance rings and amulets, improving their quality and increasing the stats that you receive for them. They've also brought over Ritual to Path of Exile 2. You can find a Ritual in an Atlas Waystone if it has the icon shown here in the bottom right above it. Rituals become increasingly difficult as you clear them on the map, but reward you with more and more favor, and you can use that favor to buy items. Some of those items we'll talk about today are omens. Omens are a way for you to use your currency while crafting items to improve the favorability of your outcomes. As you can see with the first example on the top right, the Omen of Dextral Annulment, it's only going to remove suffix modifiers when using an Orb of Annulment on an item. It's important to mention here that there are 3 prefix and 3 suffix modifiers allowed on each item. As Jonathan mentioned previously, there are a total of 6 modifiers on a typical item. 3 of those are prefixes, 3 are suffixes. We also have Delirium, which you'll find if your waystone has the icon here in the bottom left over it. One of the delirium specific rewards you'll find are distilled emotions. These work a lot like blight oils did in Path of Exile 1. Besides enhancing your waystones with delirium, they can also be used to instill a notable passive point from anywhere on the passive tree on your amulet. So as you can see here, this combination provides the notable of Blinding Flesh. I'd also like to mention Expedition. Although there aren't any specific Expedition items that are used to modify or upgrade your items, there are a couple of noteworthy topics here. For starters, if you see this white swirly marker on your waystone, it will have an Expedition inside. Completing Expedition encounters will reward artifacts. These can be used when trading with Expedition-specific vendors. Here you will see the vendor Gwyneth, who will offer you items in trade for your artifacts. She's a lot like gambling vendors in town, except won't require gold. There's also Rog, who was an extremely popular vendor in Path of Exile 1. He allows you to spend artifacts to craft your own items without spending any of your own in-game currency besides these Expedition artifacts. Other noteworthy members of Expedition are Tujin, who trades currency for artifacts, and Danning, who trades one type of artifacts for another. In case you want to convert artifacts that you can spend on Gwyneth for ones that you can spend on Tujin, for example. Hopefully you can also find logbooks for sale on Danning. These are the Expedition-specific map and boss encounters. Let's get into endgame Ascendancy Trials from the Trial Master. These progress through 10 levels of trials with increasing difficulty and increasing rewards. Some trial-specific items you might find are the Soul Cores. These are specialty runes that you can socket in your items. The one shown here provides attacks with the ability to penetrate enemy elemental resistances for a huge increase of damage if you're using elemental attacks. The Trial Master can also reward Vol Orbs, which are a way to corrupt items. These are unpredictable, and once used, you can no longer use currency or make changes to your item. You're kind of stuck with it the way it is. Corrupted items can add or remove prefixes or suffixes on an item, increase or decrease the rolls for them, but also perform some other unexpected changes. Here you'll see a Quill Rain with higher increased attack speed, a body armor that has a third socket, one more than the normal limit, as well as a couple other examples. Vol Orbs are very powerful, but use at your own risk. You'll also find monsters frozen in corrupted essence in your waystones. You click on them and activate them to kill them for an essence. These items can upgrade your items in a more controlled way. The example shown here on the bottom right are boots that will guarantee that they'll be upgraded with a movement speed buff when going from normal to magic. This can be very useful when crafting items, especially when there's a very specific modifier you'd like to have on an item. For example, if you're playing a life stacking build and you want to make sure that each item you craft is guaranteed to have life on it, essences are a great way to make that happen. This conversation wouldn't be complete without talking a little bit about the crafting bench for Path of Exile 2. We did receive confirmation the other day that there will not be a crafting bench. So there will be a bench that will salvage items, that will allow you to take items and destroy them if they have sockets in them, or if they have quality, in order to get blacksmith shard, armor scraps, or artificer shards, to put 20 of those together to get an artificer's orbs, etc. Right? So you can do that to put sockets in items that you have, or improve the quality of items that you have. But as far as a crafting bench is concerned, it sounds like they're going to leverage the rune system in the game to make those changes that you want on items for, resistances or health or whatever you kind of stats you want with the runes. Hopefully they have some cool runes that do things like hits can't be evaded or penetrating resistances and whatnot. They had some pretty great bench crafts, obviously, in Path of Exile 1, so hopefully we can duplicate that in some fashion with the rune system. That'll be a wait-and-see kind of game. Lastly, I wanted to wrap up by going over some of the items you might find while adventuring. Here you'll see a variety of uncut, skill, and support gems. that can unlock any of the huge variety of skills that Path of Exile 2 has to offer. Most importantly and worthy of mention, here are the Jeweler's Orbs. These are in-game to unlock additional sockets with these skill gems so you can increase their power significantly. The Jeweler's Orbs will add a socket to a skill gem depending on the current number of sockets available. That's all I have for today. Hopefully you found all this information useful. If you're anything like me, you're on the hype train for Path of Exile 2's early access on December 6th. If you have any questions for me or suggestions on anything you'd like to understand better, I am going to include a link to the Path of Exile 2 live stream, as well as a couple of sites that I've used as references here today. Hopefully you also find them handy. If you're planning to play during early access and you want to drop by my stream, I'll be streaming on Twitch. You can find me at mimic_AC. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in early access.